everybody, to AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Cruz hometown station. You're listening to the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug. Usually John's with me. He's off today. Special guest for the rest of the show, Mr. Joe Messina. Not the right side, not the wrong side, the real side. Is that how you say it?
Just the real side of the issues. You know what I'm saying?
Joe is also an elected member of the Hart School Board, right, Joe?
That's right. Yeah, still there. Yeah.
Okay. How's that going?
It's interesting. Apparently, you can't have a radio show and be on the Hart School Board at the same, an elected official at the same time.
You've heard that?
At least once a month.
Wow.
I mean, you follow Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can be an elected official as long as you decide to lock up every bit of knowledge you have in your head, your thoughts, your feelings. And I always say to them, do you think I got elected because I didn't? I mean, I've always been outspoken, right? So the people who elected me knowing what I stood for. So I don't know. And
I don't really see what the correlation is or the problem.
I'm a religious guy. I believe in God.
Wow.
I talk to nothing.
Unbelievable. And does that ever filter over into your on the dais for the school board?
Well, the only place it filters over in all reality is, look, as a Christian, my Bible tells me that I'm supposed to obey the laws of the land unless they go against God's law. So, 99.9% of the time, I vote according to the law. And I know people aren't going to like to hear this, and the other 4 trustees are going to slap me later, but we are a rubber stamp group. I mean, if you really think about it, the education comes down from the state. They tell us what we're supposed to do. All we're doing is reporting back to the state that we enacted this like you told us to. We're watching over the money. This is where we're going. We're implementing it. That's all we do at the school board level.
Right.
And watch the dollars.
So what does that have to do with your radio show?
Thank you. And give the man his parting gift. He did well.
Let's move on to another controversial subject. In fact, the Gazette's going to have an article on this next week, everybody.
Cool.
Joe has been running it. I've
been the chairman of the small group that runs the
prayer breakfast.
Yearly prayer breakfast.
And how many years have you been doing it?
This is the 12th year this year.
Yeah, and I've gone to probably 8 or 9 of them.
Okay.
They're a great event.
I'll forgive you for the other 4.
I was out of town.
Yeah.
How do you explain it? It's not. I mean, it's wow. I mean, I'm a Christian too, so I just eat it up. I love it. But it's called the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. But people at first take it as possessive, right?
The first year, the printer put an apostrophe in there that I made a mistake. Okay,
right.
I didn't make a mistake. It's the mayor's plural. We have plural mayors in the valley because it's not the Santa Clarita City. It's the Santa Clarita Valley Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. Technically, the town councils have mayors. President of the council is usually the mayor, referred to as. And then we had Mike Antonovich the first year because the county used to do, I don't know if they still do it, but one of the 5 was always chosen as mayor of the year. So they would do a mayor for the whole county for that year. So we called it the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. Well, everybody got crazy. You made it possessive. Doesn't belong to the mayor because then it becomes a government thing. And
right.
Separation of church and state, which I can't find in the Constitution, but that's okay.
Let's back up real quick.
Yeah.
Because so many people think that that's in the Constitution, right?
It's not.
But isn't it just a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to somebody?
Here's the acidine part of this, okay? Thomas Jefferson, the guy that they love to hang their hat on, he wanted to make sure there was nothing. But do you know that Thomas Jefferson used to hold weekly religious services in a federal building? Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't.
Every week, church was held in a federal building because Thomas Jefferson had Alzheimer's. They just hadn't diagnosed it at the time. He really didn't know what he was talking about, right? And then he used to bring in the military band to do what? They played the hymns every week. So you had a government building hosting a church service with a military band playing the hymns. Apparently, separation of church and state, he didn't apply to him, everybody else.
We could talk all the rest of the show about this. Drives me nuts.
Absolutely out of my mind.
Nuts. Right. So anyway, the pushback on the prayer breakfast, does it happen every year? The pushback?
I joke and say the only year it didn't happen was the year the guy that was missing 2 legs showed up, and he had won a decathlon missing 2 legs. Kind of hard to get down on a guy missing 2 legs, right? No matter what he believes.
Are they still getting on you about the speaker or the whole event, or both?
It's pretty much all. It's 3 things really. It's always the event. The event in their mind is divisive because it's Christian-esque in nature. Well, no, it's totally backed and financed by Christian businessmen in this town. So if it comes up short, as it does on a fairly regular basis, they make up the difference. And I even had a group approach me one year and said, well, we'd like to open it up to everybody. I said, great, you go ahead and you help me fund this thing. And when I told them how much money it was, they said, never mind, you have your breakfast and enjoy yourself. So the second thing, again, is usually the speaker. Now, this year's speaker is William Federer. He is a historian, a religious historian, an American historian. He will tell you about the prayers of our founding fathers, the battles they went through when they took a knee before the battle, and the kind of result that they have. But because he's a Christian and a Christian speaker, he has spoken on Islam, he has spoken on same-sex marriage, he has spoken on the gay and lesbian lifestyle. Therefore, he's not suitable. So if I use their guidelines, I could pb.net, and that's for Santa Clarita Valley Marriage Prayer Breakfast.net. And this year, it's the first year in 12 years I've raised the price by $2.50.
What?
Oh my God!
You're killing me, Joe.
Now here's the thing I tell people, because I'll hear about how only the elitists can go. If you really want to go to this thing, if you can't save $3 a month or $2.50 a month in a little jar by the side to buy your ticket, and you're really in that dire straits, call me. Okay, I'll get you in. Call me, because there are those same nasty Christian businessmen have also donated seats for people to be able to come who really can't come. And William Federer is great. I mean, he's a great guy. He knows the history of this country, and would like to see us get back to where we should be.
Every speaker you've had each year has been great. Yeah. Now, was it one year you had protesters outside? Am I remembering that right?
You might have. We've had protesters outside probably 7 of the 12 years. One year they were across the street with donuts, and that was Pacific Justice Institute's President Brad Dacus, because Brad is part of a group that supports education, that protects education, and what he does is, and again, he protects all religions and all lifestyles, but what ends up happening is like the bathroom bill, as we call it here in California. Some people have gone to him to help protect their schools, protect their children in the situations where you have, men using the women's room, women using the men's room. Funny, you don't really have that many women using the men's room. It always seems to be the men using the women's room.
I remember when that first came out, I was thinking of one of my sons and the stuff they used to, back then, if they would have been going, oh my gosh, they would have been trying. I can't even go.
I know it's distasteful, but I used to say, where was this law in the 70s when I was in high school? And they had, what did they have back in the 70s? They had unisex bathrooms.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh. All right, so much I want to talk to you about. Let's move on. City council race. What's your take? Smythe coming in?
I'd like to see him jump in. I think he's leaning towards it. I can't tell you for sure, because things can change that fast.
Right.
But I'd like to see him come in. I think he would do a good job. I think, look at his family, look at his wife, look at his family. Represents everything that that the city is becoming or has been. Families, education. He's been on the council. He's been at the state legislature. Maybe he can help us maneuver some of the things we need to do to make things happen. And he does it. He's got a good job. So I can't imagine there's going to be any pettiness brought to the situation or a holier-than-thou attitude. I just don't see it.
Let me ask you this. Will you officially endorse anybody?
Will I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Have I? No.
Yeah. How will you, what's your communication method of doing it?
I'll usually have lunch with every candidate that's up. I use their past performance and try to see where they're at, what they see as our future here in the Valley. Because as a school board trustee, it affects me. We work with the city closely. You've got the Blue Ribbon Task Force, and there are other things that the Heart District and the city do collectively together that help our kids in this town. And I want somebody who's got kids. The nice thing about him is he's got younger kids that are growing up and going through the system. They're going to hit the Heart District.
Yep.
He better help us out if he runs it. He gets on there.
Do you think what I'm hearing around town is some of the ages of some of the candidates and sitting council members, that they're past their prime, they're too set in their ways, and for the city to move forward, they need to be gone? What do you think?
Well, how old was Reagan when he took office?
Okay, fair point.
I mean, look, there is some legitimacy that once you're in too long, you kind of get complacent, and maybe that's a shake-up of only winning by 12 votes. Maybe that'll shake you up a bit. But there's also some reality, as I've learned from being on the Heart Board, and again, I don't want to be on there forever. I have no intention of being on there forever. You're seeing through projects. You fight to make projects happen. and you know where the skeletons are buried. You know how to move in and out of things. You can't discount that. Because somebody coming in, I don't care how smart you think you are, I don't care what you think you have together, or how many board meetings you've gone to, because I went to a lot of board meetings, and then when I got inside, I was like, oh my God, I've entered an alternate universe.
Really?
This is not
That
at all
different?
what I thought.
Really?
No, yeah, because look, when the board or the council is staring at you during public session when you are, I want some answers. They can't. Legally, because of the Brown Act, the one that everybody throws in our faces, there are so many things we can't do because of the Brown Act. We're asked to make $40, $50, $60 million decisions on information we get in 2 or 3 hours. Can you do that? Can you make a $500,000 decision in 2 or 3 hours for your business?
No way.
No.
No.
And then they just want to slam on us for some of the things that go sideways. It's like, wait a minute. We couldn't work this out ahead of time.
People have asked me if I was ever going to run for anything, city council, school board, and I always say no because I don't have the thick skin like you do.
No, but you got the passion, and that's where
But
it starts.
I wouldn't be able to handle the criticism. But anyway,
yeah, I think some people think thick skin and stupidity go hand in hand. I'm not so sure. I don't know.
One thing that concerns me, I did an informal poll a couple months ago. I asked all 30 people in my business networking group, and just around town, at the Elks Lodge, wherever I happened to be, if they could name who the city council people were. Nobody. I couldn't get one person that could name all 5 of them. Most of them say that Keller guy, and that, to me, that's sad.
Well, the sad part, I am not for, there are people that have been saying, throw out all the 3 older ones, throw out the ones that have been there forever. Great, okay, so where's the history? Where's the understanding? Do you want to give up the Cowboy Poetry Festival? Because a lot of people think that that's a waste of time, but that's part of our heritage.
Right.
It's part of our history. Downtown Newhall, you may not like some of the things that are happening here, but some of the older folks on that board or council are trying to keep the character of these areas. And I think you got to be very careful when you make that blanket statement, get rid of them all. I really think that's scary. And you're right about it. A lot of people don't know who runs it. I get emails asking me to stop the building of the homes because it's getting too congested. Who do they think I am?
You're on the school board.
Luigi Capone? I mean, I run this. I'm on the school board, and we don't make those decisions.
Folks, we're talking to Joe Messina on the Gazette Radio Hour, AM-1220 KHTS. He's an elected member of this Hart School Board. He also has a show every evening called The Real Side. And Joe, I don't know how to tell you this, but I use your show to fall asleep. I don't mean it in a bad way. Oh. But ever since I'm a kid, I have to go to sleep with a little microphone, the radio in my ear. So I've been switching to you. It's very interesting.
I have an avid, I have one anyway. I have an avid listener in Texas, and I guess he's a security guard. He listens to me every night, and I get an email after the show, and I know he's listening because he's. I
want to jump on that real quick.
Go ahead.
Your show is in how many stations across the nation?
Right now we're on 41.
That's amazing. Now, how did you pull that off?
No kidding, right?
How did you pull that off? I find that fascinating.
Well, what you do is, first of all, you got to get an audience, you got to get you got to get some activity going, and then I self-syndicated, which is, everybody says, oh yeah, you pay for the stations. Well, no, somebody's paying for a show. So when you're listening to a show, somebody's paying for it. So you get a couple of stations so that you create a bit of a buzz, and then what happens is you just start sending your information out to the syndicators, and they'll listen and they'll watch. And finally, I was in a parking lot here in Valencia, and I got a phone call and said, hey, we'd love to have your show.
Now, who handles the business side of all this?
Joe Messina does.
Really?
Yeah. And,
the missus doesn't help?
But to the credit of Carl and Jerry, too, I mean, when I got my first contract, I said, look, all I know about the radio business is a switch here that I press and I get connected to you guys. I don't know anything about this contract. So they helped me with that. I just signed another contract with a bigger network.
Wow.
So that actually starts Monday. So we're switching from USA Radio over to the GCN networks, and they have 1,600 stations available.
Wow.
And we picked up 5 new affiliates in 2.5 days just hearing the show was coming over.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So when is it on here?
It's on 9 to midnight here in Santa Clarita. It's on 6 to 9 live West Coast, 9 to midnight live East Coast, and it actually gets played.
Now, what's the 6 o'clock? You're on at 6?
I'm actually live 6 to 9 here on the West Coast. Obviously 9 to midnight on the East Coast. And then what some of the stations like K-Hits does, they pick it up They record it and then replay it 9 to midnight.
Gotcha.
And
so 3 hours from now, roughly, you're on the air?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, are you planning right now in your head what you're going to do? Or?
I've laid out my stories. The nice thing about it is when you start getting an audience, they send you the stories. And I started switching a little bit off of politics and more onto social issues, which is really what gets people crazy, social issues, because that's always personal to somebody. But since I started doing that, a lot more activity, a lot more hits, a lot more comments.
Right. Well, in the time we have left, I have to ask you, what do you think of Donald Trump? Come on, Joe.
Listen. Do I want to vote for him? No, but I love Donald Trump. You know I love Donald Trump because he's forcing us to talk about stuff that makes us uncomfortable. He's taking all those kids into college there is no safe room big enough to get you away from Donald Trump. That's what I love. He's making you talk about abortion. He's making you talk about a wall. He's making you talk about making this country great again, and everybody else is mad at him for doing it. That's what I love about Donald Trump.
So, are you going to support him if he's the nominee?
I'm going to listen. Based on the other two possible choices, yes, I'm 100% in for whatever Republican nominee there is.
So you're good with Ted Cruz?
I don't care who it is.
Really?
Even if it's Kasich. Listen, I'm not a big fan of Cruz's either. I think there's something going on there. I don't think the Inquirer just publishes stuff to publish stuff, all right? Think about, they were the first one on Edwards, and we went around for months and months. Oh, it's impossible. Can't have anything like that. But I want somebody to change. I want things to change in this country.
Do you believe that Trump's negative coattails are long enough that he'll affect the House and the Senate, bring them back to the other side? Because I don't get that part.
Well, the idea with Republicans or the Republican echelon is that the one at the top drags the rest of them down. I don't buy that anymore. They're forgetting about the wins from the Tea Party that have happened all across the country. They're forgetting about how much we've changed in turn. Ben Carson, if he was a little more aggressive, and I mean just a little bit, he'd still be in the race and he'd still be on top because nobody sees him, sitting across the table from Putin. You want to hear this? I do this every night, but that's what I'm saying to you. You've got the thing I love about Trump is you and I know as businessmen, when he says, I'll make Mexico pay for the wall, he's not talking about going down and getting a check from them with an invoice.
Yeah.
He's talking about when they figure, hey, if this guy gets this wall done, this is what it's going to cost our country.
Right.
We need to sit down and negotiate here. That's what he's talking about doing.
Yeah. Do you, how do I say this? Does it bug you that Trump can sound like such a doofus in front of the camera?
Yes. You know why? He's the boss. Think about something. He's an A personality. When he goes to build a Trump Tower, there's no hammer in his hand.
Right.
He brings all the experts in to do it.
Right.
And when somebody says, I can't do it, he says, get me somebody else. Am I wrong? I mean, that's the way he does. Yeah. So when he gets it from the camera, he doesn't think about, how do I say this so I don't offend anybody?
Yeah, he just...
the refugee thing. What is so bad about, take the Muslim out of it, take Hispanic out of it, what is so bad about simply checking the refugees out before you let them in this country? And to his credit, what's Europe doing right now? Closing borders, sending people home, locking them up, because it didn't quite turn out the way they thought.
They're facing the results of having them there, increased crime. And
so he's not that wrong. You may not like the way he's delivering it, but
there's a gentleman here in town that worked for him directly for 3 years and says the guy that you see, behind his desk in meetings, board meetings, is 100% different than the guy you see on TV today.
I've got a guy on my show on a regular basis. It's the same thing. Worked for him as an attorney for 3 years.
Yeah.
Says the same thing about the guy. But why are we so afraid to talk about this stuff? Why do we, keep the refugees out till we check them out? Oh my God, it's so terrible. No, it's not. It's not terrible.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to get hit again. You know what's going to happen.
I agree with you.
It's going to happen.
I agree with you.
It's tragic. Bernie or Hillary?
Are you serious? You know what I say about Bernie? I know you're gonna get a lot of hate mail for this. Okay, Uncle Bernie is the guy that shows up for Thanksgiving. You don't really want the kids alone in the room with him, but then again, you really don't want to throw him out of the house, right? He's a little off. Got 49 cards in the deck kind of thing. And then Hillary, I'm sorry. Here we go, right? I'll lose my seat. Here's the bottom line with Hillary. I do not want a liar, a thief, an accessory to murder. The way she talks to us and at us, what she's done for women, nothing, ladies. She's done absolutely nothing for you. There's women groups now, left-leaning women's groups coming against her. Her husband. What did he do to women?
Yes.
And what did she do to help women?
Right.
What did she do
to him? To women that he facilitated his bad behavior with and told them to be quiet about it.
Yeah, and you know, I see. This is what I think Trump should do. Trump should have a debate, set up, and he should bring all the women that slept with although there might not be enough room on stage, but bring all the women up on stage, right, and shoot questions at them like you do in a debate. If that doesn't. Nothing but.
Okay,
do you want to get off the floor?
Who's going to be in the general in November?
I fear it's going to be Trump and Hillary.
And who prevails?
Oh, really? I think Trump will prevail.
You really do?
I think mainstream media's keeping the numbers down. I think mainstream media's playing with those numbers.
We got 30 seconds left. Is Hillary going to get indicted?
I say yes. I've got somebody that comes on my show on a regular basis, works for the FBI. They are putting great pressure on them to, but it's going to get sent to the AG for indictment. No guarantee she's going to do anything with it.
Right.
Who runs it?
But are we going to have the director resign and sing out loud if that happens?
I don't think that's the director. I've been told it's going to be the director and quite a few others. The director of the FBI my understanding, is a very straight, stringent guy.
Right. All right, Joe Messina, everybody. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, Doug. Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, May 5th, Thursday morning.
Right.
Get tickets online. You'll love it.
Give the site again.
scvmpb.net.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. John will be back. See ya.